A wise man once said, "Imagine there's no heaven, no hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I am not the only one." An even wiser man once said, "Only a fool would say that." Super Mario Bros. 2. The year is 1987. Nintendo just hit the jackpot. Both the Famicom and the NES were causing waves in the video game industry thanks to a little-known working-class self-insert named Super Mario, masterminded by Shigeru Miyamoto. They released Super Mario Bros. And that game was kinda awesome, but they had to keep the Mario hype train alive. So they put him in golf, tennis, racing, he was a fucking referee in Punch-Out! And then they finally made the next entry in the Mario franchise, Super Mario Bros. 2. This game is fucking hard. Enemy placements were unfair, poison mushrooms were annoying, there were secret pipes that literally put you back at a previous world, erasing a lot of the progress you worked so hard for. This shit was the biggest fuck you game that Nintendo has ever put out up to this point. And they realized that. They said to themselves, "We can't give this shit to the Americans, they'll fucking bomb us! Again!" So they had to create an alternative fast to feed the hungry Americans. So they stole this game, Doki Doki Panic, a game that initially had nothing to do with Mario, and instead was made to promote this event called the Dream Factory 87. All they really did was change some sprites, added a little bit of Mario flair, and called it a day. Why is this possibly one of the best Mario games ever? Okay, but before we get into the meat and potatoes, I figured I should talk about my exposure to the Mario series. You see, I didn't grow up in the 80s or 90s. I had a Wii and a DS, so the only 2D Mario games I were playing at the time were the new Soup series. I played a bit of Galaxy 2 and Super Smash Bros. Only because I thought it was a Mario game, and it really cemented my love for this wacky franchise. Eventually, they re-released Super Mario All-Stars in the Wii, and that was my first exposure to Mario 2. But it didn't stick with me then. You see, despite owning all these old games, I was more interested in playing them in their original state, with its glorious 8-bit graphics. So once I got a 3DS, I got Mario 2 via the Virtual Console. The little Mario 2 brainworm has stuck with me since. Alright, boom, first thing that happens, you're falling out of the sky. This isn't your granny's Mario Bros, okay? From the beginning, Mario 2 sets out to differentiate itself from its older brother. Playing this for the video made me realize how this game advanced the Mario series heavily. A lot of things that we associate with Mario came from this game. Shy Guys, Birdos, Bob-ombs, even showing off the height difference between Mario and Luigi for the first time in game. Something that wouldn't happen again in either Mario 3 or World. So let's talk about the gameplay first. There are 4 characters you can choose from, each with their own characteristics. Mario, Luigi, Toad, and Peach. Mario is the all-rounder, the jack of all trades, but master of none. That being said, you can't really go wrong choosing this guy. Then you got Luigi, who has a significantly higher and floatier jump, albeit at the price of being incredibly slippery. Toad, who is the fastest and the strongest of all the bunch, but in turn has the worst jump height in the game. He even falls the quickest, which may be ideal in some scenarios. And lastly, you got Peach. She has about the same speed and jump as Mario, but she's able to float in the air for a bit. However, this comes at the cost of her strength, which we'll get to later. Visually, all of these characters have gotten great sprite upgrades since Mario 1. They all have more detail and are pretty close to how we look at these characters today. Like, fucking come on, this is an iconic Mario sprite. There are 20 levels total, 7 bosses, and 7 worlds. A deviation from the 8 world standard that we're used to today. Not only that, but worlds only have at most 3 levels, all with incredibly variable lengths. What I like about this game is that it just throws a bunch of shit at the wall. From puzzles to items to bombs, like a lot of bombs. It really tries to stretch the developing Mario mythos, as in Mario the idea versus Mario the man. The game starts with a vague intro about this whole game being a dream. as you see in both the little text intro at the beginning and the end of the game. And because of course, we can only dream of reaching video game peaks like this again. Okay, back to the falling section. I do like how the terrain starts sort of expanding as you fall. This might be a bit of a weird take, but it kind of feels like Mario's brain is sort of rendering all this out as he's falling down to the ground. So then you enter the next door, and here's where the game actually begins. Rather than the simple design of 1-1 from Mario 1, the level design here is far more complex. You'll see roots on the ground, weird guys with masks, waterfalls, vines that you can climb on, even more doors to enter. This is the perfect playground to figure out the game's mechanics. Gone are the days of jumping on goombs and turts. Shut up. We now have to crush their heads in with turnips, or with their own brethren, whichever method of homicide you prefer. The first notable structure, hill, shows a bunch of roots with the vine next to it, inviting the player to check out the terrain. Either that, or you can use a new ability called the super jump. By holding down for a second, Mario and company will become an epileptic's worst nightmare. Once you press jump, you'll go incredibly high. Just watch out for the Shy Guy there, as even throwing them off in height equivalent to Michael Jackson's Baby won't even kill them, let alone phase them. Once you start flicking these roots, you find some potion? Kool-Aid? No. It's a door that allows you to temporarily enter subspace. The world is flipped and dark. Any roots you pick up here will turn into coins, and maybe you'll find a mushroom to increase your health pool. This game uses health pools rather than the hit points based on your power-up status. You could pretty much get as much HP depending on how many mushrooms you find, though because of how rare mushrooms are in this game, you'll need at least some source of healing or replenishment. That is where genocide comes in. If you kill 5 enemies, a heart will start floating upward, allowing you to heal. Just make sure not to despawn it. And speaking of spawning, I guess now's the best time to talk about it. Enemies spawn so damn much in this game, like to the point where this game will literally start lagging. We're gonna get a bit technical here, but I feel it is a bit interesting to note. So every enemy has a specific spawn placement. So no matter what happens to the enemy, dead or alive, if the screen goes back to the spawn point, then the enemy will almost always return. This can cause a bit of jank and jump scares in the game, and as I mentioned before, lagging. Though, to give this game some slack, this is the first ever Mario game where you can go back to a previous section of the level. But anyways, back to the game. There are also these cherries that are lying around. If you eat 5 of them, a star will start rising. And if you've ever played a Mario game, then you know that you can find POW blocks, bombs, bob-ombs, and even 1-ups by plucking roots. I'm not saying you should pluck every root, but you should at least check every once in a while for some goodies. Also, this is probably the most explorative and freeform a 2D Mario has ever been. Let's take a look at this section right here. So you have 2 levels of terrain, a top one and a bottom one, both of which have a doorway that leads into each other. So once you go into either one of those doors, you could either exit out the other end or go to this secret third option all the way on the left. Though taking the third route will need a bit of effort, as you can only break through them by dropping a well-timed bomb to break through the wall. Or you could skip doing all of this and do a super jump all the way to the upper level, allowing you to take the vine on the right. This one little section has 4 different ways of progression, and while every level doesn't have this amount of depth in the choices they give you, it at least instills a sense of exploration into the player, encouraging them to look for other paths to getting to the end. And what's at the end, you ask? This fucker, I'm gonna kill you! Almost every level in this game ends with a boss fight, and Birdo is the most common out of all of them. She'll shoot these eggs out of her glory hole of a mouth, so naturally you have to bash her brains in with her own offspring. There are 3 variants of Birdo, one that shoots eggs, one that shoots fire, and one that shoots fire and eggs. The ones that only shoot fire are of course the most difficult, as you can't use any of her projectiles to hit her back. Also, this game has the weirdest level exit in Mario history. You have to let this bird eat you or something. I mean, I don't know what that's all about, but okay, I know a lot of y'all are gonna like this part of the game. So remember those coins you got from subspace? Well, you can use them to do a little thing called gambling. And dude, hell yes. Here you can earn lives, get matching items, win some lives, get 3 cherries, get 5 lives. Life in itself is just a commodity in the Mario verse, per chance. And if that's the basics of Super Mario Bros. 2. I'm not going to talk about every level in depth, as that'll seem pretty repetitive. Rather, I'll be talking about ideas that reoccur. Oh, and it should be noted that there are no water levels. So that's already one point that this game has over every other Mario game. For example, in 1-2, you can use an enemy as a mode of transportation. Here we see a bird on a magic carpet. This bird is a bitch! You throw them into the endless pit and take their magic carpet and head on your merry way. But did you know that you could actually use Luigi's jump height to jump on top of these cupids? You don't even have to interact with the bird at all. Also, they're not cupids, they're a bezo. I mean, okay, bezo. There's a lot of clever platforming like this around the game. Stuff like riding this bird to the other direction, using a Shy Guy to traverse spiked floors, flying on top of a Birdo's egg. It's truly amazing. Next, there are a lot of these key sections, usually to access a locked door, and keys are typically found in these vases, which are essentially the equivalent of warp pipes in this game, though with every key comes along a Phanto, a flying mask that will do its damned best to try and home in on you, like you fucked its wife or something. And even these sections are always complemented with some sort of escape sequence, such as falling. You know, sometimes it's reasonable, like you only fall to maximize the distance from the Phanto, while other times it's just absurd. Like there will just be bottomless pits that you'll inevitably fall into if you don't know the level layout. If you're gonna take anything from this video and play this game for the first time, then trust me when I say always fall right. Next up is sand digging. For both of these gimmicks, I recommend using Toad due to his fast digging and falling speed, just to get through these sections quicker and easier. Next up are the bomb sections, which they're alright. You gotta break through these walls using bombs, some of which are time sensitive. They can be kind of slow though, since you're constantly running and waiting. By far the worst of the gimmicks in this game. We got ice levels. The floor is mad slippery and they can end up being a straight up reaction test. You gotta avoid these flurries and bezos like you're fucking Neo. I like these a lot actually, it kinda reminds me of Sonic. This next one isn't really a gimmick, more so a rant on the one thing I absolutely despise in this game, and that's the sparks. So they just made this enemy that will circle some surface areas. Sometimes it's just a platform, sometimes it's simply enclosed. They aren't too bad to handle when there's just 1 or 2 of them, but what the fuck is this shit? It is stupidly hard to traverse these fuckers without taking any damage. I'd imagine this is how mall cops circulate the building. Stop doing that shit. It's practically a guaranteed hit if I'm picking up a key and playing as fucking Peach, who takes eons to pick up things compared to Toad. Like, come on, move it! Why does it take so damn long to pick up a key, let alone anything with her? I bet I could come before she picks up this damn thing. It's worse dealing with these guys as Luigi, since this motherfucker is, as I said, very slippery. I might as well lube myself up and go into a car wash, because that's the exact same thing. I fucking hate these guys, and the fact that they expect you to do this right before the final boss. I mean, they really had to slip in some of the difficulty of OG Mario 2. Well, guess what, Shiggy? I know where you live. Finally, we're at the bosses. They all need to be hit by an item an X amount of times until they go down, except for Mouser, who wants to blow you up, so naturally you return the favor. There's Triclide that just spits fireballs, Claw Grip throws rocks that you need to throw back, Fry Guy who's a fucking pain in the ass, a burn in my ass if you will. It starts off pretty normally until he just bursts into a second phase, literally. The little shits aren't hard initially, but the less of them there are, the faster they move, and they just fucking track your ass. The ideal situation is to take out all of them in one fell swoop, which isn't impossible, but could take a bit since they move based on your positioning. Remember that bird at the end of each level? Well, yeah, fucking hates you now. I mean, it's whatever. The guy's really easy. And lastly, there's Warped. He's pretty easy, at least compared to the other bosses. Avoid his globulent spit and throw some pearl jam at his mouth. The hard part is the timing of your attacks, since he can only be hurt when his mouth is open. And if the veggies hit the spit, then they'll be fucking eviscerated. So it's just a matter of finding the right timing, and once you get it down, it's pretty simple. And just like that, Mario 2 is complete. I really like this game. It's pretty off the wall for a game in the 80s, but creative level design and clever problem solving is very rewarding. And each character all provide a different take on the level, as well as their own skips. I think Mario and Toad are my go-tos. The floaty characters have fucked me over way more, and Peach is she's just so slow, man. It's funny that the game lags because there's just so much a video game. This game is considered the black sheep of the Mario series, which makes sense since it initially wasn't a Mario game, but I've always had a soft spot for a lot of the black sheeps in gaming. Mario 2, Sonic CD, Tekken 4, No More Heroes 2. A lot of these games, while they might not be as polished and popular as the rest of their brethren, I feel that in these games in particular have something that no other game in their respective series are able to replicate. And even though Mario 2's concepts have been fostered into the main franchise for a while, Nintendo has only now started to bring some love back into this game, with Mario Maker 2, and even some remixes in Mario Kart World. So hopefully this game will get you to play this awesome platformer if you haven't already. Now, I'd normally say something sentimental or heartwarming to end off a video, but I'd rather talk about something else, like dreams. In particular, one dream that I had. So one time, I was staying at the Hampton Inn while it was snowing, and outside was a big ass Sega Genesis cartridge, Sonic 2 on it. Ironic because I'm